there something happening that I don't know about? What the fuck is this?
How spending money in games never really feels like spending money. Like you're not dropping $20 on the banner. You are buying it with Primo Gems or Lunites or event tickets.
Okay,
and
so yeah, we're talking about the law cracking down on Genshin. Okay, great. I actually wanted to talk about this.
The store looks like some kind of cosmic Chuck E. Cheese. But instead of tokens for skee ball, you are trading real money for disappointment. And we all just sort of accept it. I mean, we joke about it a lot. We make memes, right? Haha, I spent $10,000 and I got 8 Wolf's Gravestone. The jokes are funny until you realize they're covering up a system designed to bleed you dry. And yet,
I'm going to show you guys a disgusting system. So I want to show you every single time a content creator C6R5s a unit, that can cost upwards of, to C6 a unit, it's 475 times 7. It can cost them up to $3,300 to C6 a unit. And to 475, it can cost a content creator and a player up to $6,800 to C6R5 a unit. I don't know why anybody's doing that shit. That shit is fucking disgusting. The numbers might be slightly off, but that should be the max possibility for, I believe, Genshin and HSR. Wuwa's cheaper for the weapons for sure. Wuwa's weapons banner is about a third of that cost. And then Wuwa also has a system where the more you pull, you get free dupes. But still, these numbers are fucking crazy. People need to become aware of it. And I'm so glad we cracked down on this shit. Big shout outs to Europe. For all my Europe viewers, thank you. Without Europe, these gachas would still be able to live underneath their guise of Mickey Mouse currency. So I think it's so important that people become aware of how much they're spending. And I do think it's going to affect every banner that is now underneath these new restrictions and regulations, because people forget what they're doing until they see it on the screen.
Yet no one in power ever said anything to change that until now. You don't walk into a grocery store and buy 700 snack credits so you can maybe get a bag of chips, right? But in games, that logic is everywhere.
Of course,
and it works.
of course.
It works because it is supposed to confuse you, blur the lines, make you feel like you're spending less, even
it's because the more barriers to what you're spending are implemented, the more numb you'll become to that spending. Like, nobody has ever said, I'm going to spend $20 to do a 10 pull. They're saying, I'm going to spend 1,600 Primo Gems to do a 10 pull. So this is great for the gacha gaming industry.
When you're not. And yeah, maybe you knew.
And guys, I'll be real. So to get one copy of a character in Genshin Impact at max, you can buy Clair Obscure 11 times. Roughly 11 times. What would you rather do?
Knew that already. God, you're so smart. But the point is, no one with power ever did anything about it. Not really until now. Because this week, the FTC, yes, that FTC, finally stepped into the ring. And instead of targeting some sketchy mobile clone app, they aimed straight at the clown of gacha predatory system, Genshin Impact. Let's dive into it. The FTC has stepped in and said, enough, at least in the United States.
It's
the
not 11,
era
it's
of
10, that's why I said
mystery money
roughly.
might finally be on its way out. Starting with Genshin Impact. Under this new regulation, if a game sells you something with premium currency, it has to clearly show you what you're getting in return, not in vague in-game units, real-world dollar terms.
This is an amazing
so if you're
change.
buying a pack that gives you like
Big
what,
W's
50
for Europe.
pulls, you will see right there on the page, this is $100. And yeah, that math works out to about $1.98 per pull, which is a little bit wild, because it means every time you do a 10 pull, you are basically lighting a $20 bill on fire.
This is why I liked when Asmongold did his video where he literally set a $20 bill on fire every temple he did. It was great.
Because now, when you hit that summon button, you are not just throwing some abstract points at a banner, you are spending $2 every single time. And that is not even factoring in the pity system.
That's why, like, for these games, like for gacha games, you really need to try your best to be free to play, or as close to free to play as you can possibly get, right? Because that's how you make these games good. The problem is when people like dump thousands of dollars and whale out. Like, everybody knows gacha games are great if you're free to play, but as a whale, like, oh man, they're so bad.
Or the 50-50 gamble to actually get what you want. It completely changes the mental framing.
True. I also think that all 50-50 systems should just be fucking removed. If a company really thinks that you need to spend a PS5 to get one unit, that's ridiculous, right? We could easily not have the 50-50 at this point with how much money we're spending on the game.
Or it was like, oh, I got 3,200 gems. I can roll. Now it's, do I really want to spend $6 for 3 shots at a 0.6% 1% chance.
Hell no.
And that difference matters.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
irony is, companies know it matters. That is why they fought so hard for years to keep it abstract.
Yes, they did.
And when the cost becomes visible, players think,
Yeah, people say, well, it doesn't change anything. Guys, it changes everything. Why do you think every store doesn't charge $500? They charge $499.99. Because consumers en masse are really fucking dumb, and they will use any practice to make you think that you're spending less than you actually are. Why do you think they don't show the tax on what you're buying? And they show you pre-tax because they don't want you to know what you're spending to get what you're getting.
harder. And when players think harder, they spend less. There has already been a wave of reactions on Reddit and Twitter. Some people are calling it a Genshin W, which, let's be honest, it's not. Genshin did not volunteer this
True.
out of goodwill.
Yeah, they got
are
punished.
complying because they have to. The
Yep.
W
Every other game should fall in line, I hope.
here isn't for Genshin. It is for the consumers finally being told the truth. Look, there is this weird trend right now where people are trying to spin Genshin's compliance with the FTC as some kind of a dub. Like, wow, transparency. Hoyoverse is really stepping up. That is my $1 million company. Hail
Bro, they got punished. They didn't choose to do this. They've been choosing to not do this for years.
Dawei. And I just have to
I swear to God, you've said this before. I know I have. That's every video on the internet in the gacha space. I've said this shit before. I'm just glad that somebody else is saying it. It makes me very happy.
say, like, no, man, that's not what this is. This wasn't a moral choice. They didn't wake up one day and decide to treat players better. Not in a really long time either. They updated the store because they had to. The FTC
It's illegal in the EU. The
regulation
price
made
you
it
see is with tax.
mandatory.
That's
and
amazing.
Hoyoverse did the bare minimum not to get fined. That is not virtue. That is legal compliance. And when you really think about it, it is kind of telling that just telling the truth about how much a poll costs feels like a groundbreaking
I know,
move.
right?
People forget
It's insane.
these systems have been in place for years. These companies have been perfectly fine letting players unknowingly spend hundreds without ever saying, hey, this is actually $2 per roll. They had every opportunity to be transparent before the regulators
But why
got
would they?
involved, and they didn't because
Obfuscation.
it's profitable. So no, this isn't a goodwill update. It is a
Bro didn't know how to say obfuscation. That's insane.
forced pivot, not a character arc. Let's not start handing out gold stars for basic honesty after half a decade of grift. The moment you make
Yep.
a cost of a poll visible, it starts messing with the conversion rates. Let's walk through the numbers, right? If you spend $50, that gets you about 24 polls. $100 gets you 50, and already that should be raising eyebrows because pity in Genshin starts at 90 polls. So you could drop $100 and not even be close to soft pity. And that is
That's what's crazy, guys, that $100, this is real fact. I'm going to say it out loud. It's going to make you feel disgusting. $100 does not guarantee you 1/4 of a guaranteed unit. $100 does not get you to 25% of the worst case scenario for getting a unit. $100 for a little character that you can play in the game. Not a new game, a character you can play in the game. Brother, that's criminal.
is before you even factor in the 50-50. Now let's do the math on actual cost of a guaranteed 5-star. Assuming you lose the coin toss once, you are looking at 180 polls. Multiply that by
Yep.
$1.98 per poll, and yeah, you're in the $475 range for
Yep.
one singular character. No
Yep.
constellations and no weapons. If you want the weapons too, hope you're ready to go again. Weapon banners have their own pity, and it's even worse. You could be very realistically end up spending $900 plus to get both the character and their best in slot weapon. That is not an exaggeration. That is just the math. People
It's actually way worse than that. He did the math wrong, I believe, because you have to go to pity 3 times in the weapon banner. So I believe the number's closer to $1,100 for worst case scenario to get the weapon and the character. It's 2 now? Wait, okay, so hold up. So you can lose it's only once now? So the weapon banner is the same as the character banner now? Thank fucking God. And it's still bad. That's the worst thing. They changed it and it's still bad. Just make it like Wuwa's weapon banner system. I feel like the weapon, and even for Wuwa, I think the Wuwa system is good, and I still think it's shit. I think it should be 50 polls max. 50 polls max, and soft pity coming in at 36. And guaranteed once you get there. For a fucking weapon? Like, come the fuck on.
character, no constellations and no weapons. If you want the weapons too, hope you're ready to go
Like, that's why I really like Ethereal Restart, because at least it's like a game where like the rates like aren't dog shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't even seem that bad. Like you don't even need dupes at all. Dupes are disabled during PvP, the main game mode. So that's why I'm excited for Ethereal Restart.
Again, weapon banners have their
And Restart doesn't have a weapon banner, which is great.
own pity. And it's even worse. You could be very realistically end up spending $900 plus to get both the character and their best in slot weapon. That is not an exaggeration. That is just the math. People on the internet have been doing this breakdown since the change dropped. The comments are filled with people saying things like, I didn't realize it was this bad.
I know.
Or, this makes it harder to justify pulling. Because when the cost is vague, you can convince yourself it's fine. But when the store tells you in plain text that your 10 pull costs $20,
fucking nuts.
Hits different. It forces a pause. And that pause, that's the moment of doubt. And that is what kills conversion.
100%.
Genshin didn't want this. None of them
Impulse buying is going to be so much harder now that people actually know what they're doing.
do, because clarity kills impulse. And impulse is the only thing keeping this monetization model alive. This whole shift feels like an end of an era. For a long time, gacha games in the
Yeah, this should force gacha games to be better and be gacha games second, real games first. There's like a game with gacha in it, not a game built around gacha. You know what I'm saying? Is like right now it just feels like there's games built around a slot machine and nothing else.
West operated like it was the Wild West. Zero oversight, zero accountability.
So getting some
just
justice
vibes
for
and
consumers is
predatory
amazing.
monetization. If you followed the genre for a while, this probably reminds you of Japan's big turning point with Grand Blue Fantasy. Back in 2016, there was a massive public outcry after a player dropped over $6,000 chasing a limited character and still didn't get them. That kicked off a wave of self-regulation and eventually actual legal intervention, forcing clearer rates and spending caps. And now,
Yeah, I heard something else happen like that with Staffahoma.
nearly a decade later, the United States is finally waking up to the same problem. What we are seeing with the FTC isn't the finish line. It is the starting gun. It is
Absolutely.
the first real sign that the Western governments are stepping into digital consumer protection,
Thank
not
God.
just letting game companies write their own rules. And yeah, it is clumsy and slow and way overdue, but that is how these things always go.
Absolutely.
Same thing happened with crypto, right? No regulation until people lost millions in rug pulls and vaporware, and then suddenly the SEC shows up like, hey, maybe
Do you know how many offers I got? I shit you not, guys. I think I got like 7 offers to start my own, I kid you not, Eggy coin and rug pull my community. And I was told I would make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm still trying to figure out what I need to do about the people who sent me those messages. It's horrible. It legit is horrible.
maybe this shouldn't be illegal. Gacha games just happen to use anime girls instead of meme coins. But the core issue
Did you do it? No. There was no fucking Eggy coin. No, obviously I didn't do that.
is the same. Technology moving faster than the laws built to protect people from it. So if it feels like something fundamental is shifting, it is. This is the moment where regulators start drawing lines that, for once, the publishers can't just redraw later. The other part of this story, the one that is kind of flying under the radar, is the age gating. As part of the same FTC push, games like Genshin will soon be required to verify user age.
Good.
And accounts under a certain threshold will face restrictions or flat out be blocked from making purchases. And honestly, that is
This will benefit the community as a whole. I think the reason why the gacha community is so bad is because a lot of creators like Ziox brainwash these retarded fucking children into thinking that he's like the realest motherfucker. Bro, I remember. I saw a tweet. I'm gonna pull it up. Does anybody have the tweet of somebody saying Ziox is the realest fucking content creator? Guys. With 200,000 views, with 9.1 thousand likes, this guy tweets out, Ziox low-key the realest motherfucker out there, but y'all aren't ready for this conversation. I want to tell you that nobody called out this shit. Ziox, the guy who I caught in 4K talking to Zajef and Tawano about how much they all hate Hoyoverse and they hate the games and how they're going, hush, hush, we shouldn't be talking about this live on stream. The same guy who doesn't give you an opinion unless he pulls it in his chat first. The same guy who gauges public opinion before he speaks about anything. These stupid ass kids that these content creators fucking brainwash have been ruining this fucking community for ages. And once this age gate gets put in place, guys, I'll lose 5% viewers. I will. I'm aware that some kids do watch my shit against my wanting, by the way. I'll be real. Like I've put an 18 plus limiter on my Discord. I mark my Twitch as not safe for work. I tell people to not watch my shit if they're underneath 18. I tell them not to fucking do it. When these gates be put in place, I'll lose 5%, 3 to 5% viewership. That's how many kids watch my stuff, and I know that. And a lot of people will tell me, no, you're coping, you're coping. Well, just wait till I lose 3 to 5% viewership and other creators in Genshin Impact lose, I shit you not, 40%. 40% minimum. That's why I'm not worried about any of these dumb motherfuckers. They are my lolcows that I will make fun of for fucking ever while they fall off into irrelevancy because they don't realize that anybody who isn't an autistic child, they just won't watch them. And that's the truth. Because legit, guys, how many Hoyo creators do you know their entire personality can be summed up by, I'm gay, haha, Paimon funny? How many creators does that sound like to you? Because to me, I can think of at least 8 creators that are just like that. Now, I want to ask you guys a question, guys. For all of these Genshin creators, how many of them talk about anything other than just Genshin? It becomes their entire personality. They sexually identify as Paimon, and that's the only thing they do is eat, drink, sleep, shit, and piss Genshin Impact.
Told me
At least I would like to say, I am not referring to Brand Online, because at least Brand Online is doing a fantastic job of actually branching out and telling you how it is, and good for him. Now, I think the guy likes the lore a little bit too much, but that's okay. It is what it is. Let's keep going here.
Is good. That should have been in place years ago. And let's be real, gacha monetization banks on 2 extremes. Whales, who will throw thousands into banners without blinking, and kids, who don't fully understand how money works and ends up draining their parents' credit card because Robin is for the girlies. One of those groups is willingly exploited. The other doesn't even have the tools to consent. Personally, I think the bar should be set at 16.
Also, Nux, what up, baby?
Minimum, around the age that you can get a job. Start understanding budgeting and maybe understand the concept of diminishing returns. If you are not old enough to earn the money yourself, you shouldn't be able to blow it on RNG slot machines dressed up as adventure games.
Absolutely
the age check isn't
Hey
going
guys,
to
I'm
fix
gonna give you a hot take. If you're underneath 18, you should not be able to play gacha games. Even more so, you should not be allowed to be on social media. You don't need Twitter as a minor. You don't need Facebook as a minor. You don't need Instagram as a minor. Now, if you want to go play your Flash game websites, go for it. If you want to watch YouTube as an anonymous viewer, go for it. But you should not be seeing all this shit as a kid. Absolutely not.
Everything, but it does close off one of the most shameless loopholes these games have leaned on for years. It forces developers to finally acknowledge that their audience includes minors, and if they want to keep raking in mobile billions, they're gonna have to deal with that reality like an actual industry, not a casino
make the
disguised
games better when you make more money. It's really that easy.
There's always that reactionary wave of fear that comes up anytime regulations hit the gaming space. What if they just pull out of America? Like companies are gonna pack their bags and abandon one of the biggest consumer markets on the planet just because someone finally told them, hey, maybe don't scam children. Reality check. If Genshin Impact, a game run by one of the most profit-obsessed companies in the space, decided to comply and stay, then everyone else will too. The money's too good. They will adapt, and they always do. We have seen this before. Lost Ark's Western version had to soften its—
Why 18? Because the age of consent is 18, and let's be real, the internet's for porn. Nobody's ever used the internet and not seen porn. That's the reality. And also, it's just dangerous because there's so many fucking freaks on the internet praying to God they find a child so they can fucking groom on the internet. And I would just prefer the kids to be fucking safe. That's my opinion.
Its monetization and delay some content to meet regional standards, but it still launched, it still made money, and it still held onto a decent player base for a while. Companies would rather compromise on their monetization strategy than sacrifice—
You're 17 though? Yo, mods, ban that guy for a year.
A market share. It is not about morals, it is business calculus. And honestly, this is probably the least painful adaptation these studios could ask for. They don't even have to change the system. They just have to stop pretending a bundle of 1.6k Primo gems is some kind of abstract spiritual gift and not a $20 transaction. Now, technically, what happened with the FTC isn't a legal precedent in a way court rulings are, but let's not get hung up on legal jargon. What matters is that this sets a functional example. The US government now has a case file. They can point to Genshin and say, hey, we made them disclose poll cost and age gating accounts, so we can make you do it too. And that is how regulation builds, one high profile enforcement at a time. It is not just about Hoyoverse. This opens the door for scrutiny for every game with similar mechanics. FIFA packs, League of Legends loot bundles, even some of the sketchier mobile garbage that thrives on misleading kids and low—
This shit should be put across every game universally that's currently on the market that has in-game monetization systems.
Income players into blowing cash that they don't have. This wasn't a one-off punishment, it's a blueprint. The industry now knows that there's a new baseline for what is acceptable, and even if they won't admit it publicly, they are watching this unfold very closely. And at the end of the day,
Oh, by the way, if you're a minor in my chat and you're telling me how old you are, you will just be banned. If you're really that fucking dumb, you're literally breaking TOS to be here. I literally have to ban you.
this is not just Genshin's story, it is a shift in how the entire live service model is being forced to evolve. For years, games have gotten away with hiding the real cost of their systems behind fake currencies, emotionally manipulative system, emotionally manipulative design, and monetization schemes aimed at the most vulnerable audiences.
It's like when you go to delete the game and it shows you a crying picture of your favorite waifu. It's like, bro, are we, it goes, are you sure? We're gonna miss you. Oh my God, here we go.
And for the first time in a long time, someone actually told them, no, you can't keep doing that. This isn't some instant win. It is not going to clean the industry overnight, but it is a real start. And the more games are forced to be honest about the cost, about the odds, about who they are targeting, the more power players have to make informed choices. It is overdue, it is not perfect, but it is happening. And that matters more than any banner, any update, or any live stream cry session ever could. But that is all from me, Glaive Keo, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers-oo!
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Great ass video, and hopefully this helps get better customer satisfaction and more customer rights for these games. These companies need to be transparent. Once people become aware of how much they're spending to get something, they're going to demand a lot more, and that's the bottom line.